Eric, this is a tragedy that no one expected, because this was the first time, in the history of the tournament that the Bengaluru team, the Bengaluru Royal Challengers, managed to win this trophy. This must have been a moment of celebration, because this was a victory that happened after 18 long years of wait. But it is quite clearly a mismanagement of crowd. It is simply the police and the local administration there not expecting the number of people who turn up. Because remember, the Chinnaswamy Stadium, for anyone who's familiar with Bengaluru, this is a stadium that is bang in the heart of the city of Bangalore. It's one of those places, where there are a lot of places through which you can actually make an entry or move towards the stadium. And the police and the local administration there was completely caught off guard. Now, according to reports that are coming in, this is what, DK Shivkumar there, the leader there, has said, that arrangements were made for 5,000 police personnel, but the number of people who in fact turned up simply completely overwhelmed the security arrangements and also the crowd control measures that had been put in place. What must have been a moment of celebration has unfortunately ended in a moment of tragedy of a proportion that perhaps no one expected, because at this moment, officially what's being said is that 7 people are dead and at least 50 people have sustained serious injuries. This is clearly a stampede situation that no one expected, and we need to see as to how bad things actually are in terms of what is in fact unfolded. To make this point, the fact that the Bengaluru police, the administration there, was simply not prepared for a scale of this kind of a celebration, it just beggars belief as to how lax the entire local administration was, because this was quite clearly something that could have been prevented.
Well, according to our correspondents who are on ground, they tell us that the death toll could go up, because they say that the capacity of the stadium is at 40,000, but there are lakhs or thousands of people who thronged to the stadium to catch a glimpse of the team. And one thing that was standing out is that the entrances to the stadium, and as you can see on your screen, the entrances to the stadium were closed, and people were thronging to the entrances or thronging to the gates just to catch a glimpse of the team and celebrate with the team. But unfortunately, once the gates or the entrances were slightly opened, then people pushed their way into the stadium, which led to the death of 7 people. But we are receiving reports that the death toll has now reached 11, and hundreds of others have been hospitalized. And we do understand that the chief minister of that state and his deputy are in the hospital just to console and to speak to some of those people who are injured. And yes, this is a celebration that has been turned into tragedy. That we do understand that the RCB team are still there. In the stadium,
Eric, this is a moment, which the local administration there will have to look upon and reassess what they in fact have done. It's not just the number of people who have crowded inside of the stadium, which has a capacity of about 40,000 people. It's people who are trying to make their way towards the stadium, and it is also the crowd that had surrounded the entire stadium there. The stadium is bang in the middle of the city there. There are many approach roads that people can in fact take and come towards the stadium. Once enough number of people had come in, the gates had been shut. But where the overcrowding is likely to happen is probably on the outskirts surrounding the gates, once the gates had been shut off after the capacity of the stadium had been filled out. But the fact is, more details are awaited, because this is complete negligence in terms of how crowd has been controlled. Because one expected that considering the scale of the victory, as to how the Bangaloreans had been waiting for their team to win for so long. It was 18 long years. Right. There's this famous slogan in Kannada which says, "Isala Cup Namade." That is to say that this time round, the cup belongs to us. This is the chant of the Bengaluru fans, and that thing came true. But once it came true, the fact is, the next day, this tragedy has struck, which is what is tragic. There are no words that can describe this tragedy. Most of these people have been youngsters who, of course, crowded there to try and get a glimpse of their stars and managed to win the trophy. But this is what has happened
What's
in
more
the chaos.
even annoying, Saleh, is that the government of that state had really foreseen such a tragedy, because they did say that they do not want to have parades being organized in the state, because they did anticipate a huge crowd turning out to celebrate with the team, the RCB team, and this has been blamed on the police and the police force on ensuring that there is safety in numbers, or there is safety in the stadiums and where the crowds are heading. Let's just listen into some of the eyewitnesses on what really transpired that led to the deaths of 7 people in Bengaluru.
The airport to Vidhan Soda to the air, I think this is not a controllable crowd. Actually, I apologize for all the people of Karnataka and Bangalore. We wanted to take a position, but the crowd was very uncontrollable.
All right, so that is the Deputy Chief Minister, D.K. Shivakumar there. He's in fact gone on and publicly apologized, for the complete mismanagement of handling this crowd. And he's also gone on and said that, listen, these are all youngsters and we could not have lathi charged them, that is, bait and charge these youngsters to try and drive the crowd out. Most of them, these are all youngsters, probably they are under the age of 30. Many of them could be under the age of 20 who've turned up. This was a moment of celebration for them. But the fact that not enough measures had been put in place, this is what has resulted in this tragedy that no one expected. And my colleague Siddharth MP is of course joining us with more details on this. Siddharth, a complete tragedy that has unfolded in Bengaluru at this point of time. Do we know as to what's the latest that's transpired there?
In fact, Mohammed Saleh, it's very unfortunate what's happened, because this was supposed to be an evening of celebration and jubilation, and what's turned out is the exact opposite. It's a complete tragedy that has unfolded outside the gates of Chinnaswamy Stadium. We know that passions run high. We know that, Karnataka and especially Bangalore, the franchise has been waiting for 18 long years for this particular trophy and for this particular title. But what went wrong absolutely is the fact that government perhaps went overboard in its will to celebrate this victory, because usually at a cricket stadium, when there is a routine match going on, crowd control is fairly well, and we've seen that all stadiums across India have held IPL matches without much of a problem. But when there is an immense VIP movement and there's an immense crowd movement that is expected, I think it's a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, that's what we've seen in Bangalore, because usually on any given occasion, we don't see, a sort of open bus kind of journey or a roadshow that is taking place. In this case, of course, there was supposed to be a roadshow and crowds gathered for that. The roadshow did not take place. The open jeep show did not take place. But even then, when such kind of things are announced, the crowds will swell and it could go out of control. The Deputy Chief Minister had pointed out that more than 5,000 cops were deployed on duty. Yet the youth over there and the youngsters who had gathered, the fans who had gathered, were over-enthusiastic. These are the words of the Deputy Chief Minister,
Right.
D.K. Shivakumar. What we have to consider is that on a routine match day, this is not what happens. But today, the kind of crowds that swelled are clearly beyond control and bring to the mix the government's will to also celebrate this event in, complete public view. I think that is what threw things completely out of gear and led to this tragedy, Saleh.
Absolutely, indeed. Do continue to stay on with us, Siddharth. And we have senior journalist R.K. Upadhyay, who's still with us from Bengaluru. He's joining us over the phone line. Mr. Upadhyay, this is something that all Bengalurians had been waiting for so long, that the Bengaluru team would win the cup. They would bring the cup back home. The slogan, Isala Cup Namade. This is something that resonates with every Kannada-speaking person out there. And the cup has been brought back home, but what we are witnessing is a tragedy that should have never happened.
Absolutely, Saleh. I was, at a well-known...
Yes, Mr. Upadhyay, go ahead.
We seem to have lost Upadhyay there. We'll get back to him, but he did tell us earlier that the death toll could rise. He put the number at 11 at the time we were speaking with him, and the number of injured has been taken to various, or have been taken to various hospitals in Bengaluru, because this as he says, was a tragedy that was never expected to unfold, because there was a celebration or a celebratory mood just before this tragedy occurred, where 7 people were reported to have died or lost their lives immediately after they thronged into the stadium, the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru, to celebrate with the RCB team, which also landed at the airport, and there were crowds at the airport, but were, you know, also controlled by the state government. And the state government says, or like Saleh said, has apologized for this untimely tragedy, and they say that the celebrations will continue.